right, so welcome everyone. We have Yum Hwa over here. Thank you, Yum Hwa, for being on the
Hey,
show.
Jason. Thanks.
I'm going to introduce you a little bit. So he was a former tax consultant for one of the big four firms, but a trip to Italy inspired him, and the pleasure of just eating one pasta dish that simply he couldn't find in Singapore led to an obsession that spurred him to try to create that pasta for himself. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, so he studied under, help me out,
Yeah.
Lina Rina Poletti. Some have said that she's the grandmaster in Northern Italian style of pasta. Is that right?
Broadly speaking, yes.
Okay. He also studied under Sardinian pasta maker Claudia Casu,
Yes.
which she specializes in rare and close to extinct pasta formats in the world. Right.
Correct.
You consider yourself a pasta maker. I think the word you mentioned was pastillo.
Pastaio. Yes.
What does that mean?
It just means pasta maker in your head.
Okay, everything in Italian quite cool. So he worked in restaurants. After that, while he was doing all these things, he was working in restaurants in Toronto, specializing in in-house pasta production for the restaurants. He also worked in a pasta factory.
Yes, a semi-artisanal pasta factory. It produces fresh pasta.
Oh my goodness, didn't know.
Yeah.
Singapore don't have.
No.
Okay. He founded his very own private dining BenFatto 95 establishment dedicated to the intricacies of making and serving fresh pasta. Dubbed as Singapore's foremost pasta artisan by Tatler Asia magazine, you also got covered by Channel News Asia, Peak magazines, and many other media.
That's correct.
Yeah. Opened the much anticipated Italian restaurant in collaboration with the
Cicchetti Group.
The restaurant is actually called Forma.
That's right.
Welcome to this show, and I'm so curious about understanding how this all started. Maybe take us back all the way to when you kind of knew what your career was going to be, and how did it end up as a pasta maker?
Yeah, so I started at one of the big four, doing tax consulting and compliance advisory. I actually did that for quite a number of years. That was a path I've always followed as an accountant because my dad is one as well. He has his own firm, had his own firm. He's retired. Sat on various boards in oversight committees and all that. So that was always the path for me. Okay. Went to several accounting firms to work at, as apprentice. And then finally landed a job in one of the big fours, and then worked for, I think, a good 6 or 7 years, and then got so tired of it. And then along the way, I've always been in love with Italian food, inspired by Jamie Oliver. Yeah. So I always tell people that, and then they would laugh, right? Because Jamie Oliver, maybe 15 years ago, he was something, but now he's like, what?
He was big last night.
He was big last time. Then now he's not even a chef now.
Okay.
I think he's more a down and out business owner, businessman.
Yeah.
Okay, so but that is how my journey started. So I've always been in love with Italian food, and then I've always dabbled a little bit, cooking for friends, cooking for whoever, family. And then it came to a point where in my professional career as a tax person, it was either I continued to be down this path, or I just removed myself entirely to try something else different, something not just different but something I've always wanted to do. So I've always been in touch with people in F&B, so people from our cohort. So many of them are in the food business. So I've always been talking to some of them, and they know that Yum Hwa has got something. He's got his heart set in food, right? So they've given me various advices, and you should try to do something while you still can, because at that point everyone was already kind of settling down in fatherhood and everything. So with children, it's difficult, right?
Yes.
So, and like, so Yum Hwa, you're not married yet. You haven't got kids. I think you should just try it out, lah. So that's what I did, lah. So I left, I took a leap of faith, and then, I worked straight off the bat. I worked at a restaurant called Artichoke.
Beyond's
restaurant.
yeah, cohort mate.
Yes. So I spent a year there. Actually, it was 6 months. My agreed arrangement with Beyond was just to try out for 6 months. And 6 months later,
why would he agree? Because you has he tasted your pasta and all that first?
I haven't started doing pasta then. Well, he just I think it was I think the stars collided at that point in time, and he had an opening.
Right.
Yeah, and so that at that point I was leaving my professional career. So he said, "Come on board, lah. Try it out, see how it fits you. That's the best way to eventually, if you do, transition into this new role, this new career." So yeah, so I worked there for 6 months to see how, and it was quite fun, lah. It was very challenging, but I enjoyed every bit of it, pretty much. Then I extended for another 6 months. But also, right, because F&B, you always need people.
Yeah.
So I think he needed staff, lah, and I was happy to stay for another 6 months. So I was there for a year in total. And
what do you do? Because if you have no experience in F&B, what do you
how I contributed? How I contribute?
Because I'm sure that you didn't go, I want to be the front service stuff, right? I want to be behind. I want to be
behind. Yeah, I was behind. Had no intention to go in front of house because I actually did that before last time, lah. Like waiting for O levels kind of thing. Yeah. So back end was my thing.
Okay, so you went there.
Yeah.
I just want to do back end. Anything also can.
Anything also can. Wash dishes also can. Anything. I mean, I did everything. I basically did everything.
Yeah.
Even the last day that I was at Artichoke, he was like, "Yum, you have to distribute. I mean, you have to stay in the pass, which is the where you call the orders and then you finish the dishes and you send it out. Which is like the most important role, usually undertaken by a senior person, usually a chef, lah. Okay. So I said, yeah, Bjorn, you asked me, thanks for helping me out. Thanks for giving me a spot, but I have to prepare you, like I got no experience. I know. Just do what you can. So I just did my best, and it turns out that I was not hopeless, lah. So I was not terrible. So in fact, I think some of the stations I rather enjoyed it, and then I just took it from there, lah. So I dabbled in all stations. I did my best not to screw up. So yeah, I think it was fun, and it was very fulfilling for both of us.
Interesting. I think every time somebody wants to try out something about their passion, they need an opening. They need some kind of stars to align.
Yeah.
They need somebody to have faith in them to say that I won't screw up your operations and your business, but I just need a chance. And I understand even before this interview, you shared about something about that in F&B that's quite common. What do you call that? That means
that's that's called stage.
Stage. How do you pronounce? How do you spell that?
Stage.
Stage. Okay.
STAGE.
Right. And in F&B that's very common.
It's very common. It's a very common arrangement, but there's no monetary incentive tied to it.
So you're just understudying under a...
It's an understudy. It's like an apprenticeship without pay. But that was not the arrangement between me and Artichoke when I was at Artichoke. I was an actual employee.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, a stage is usually very short-lived. Maybe a month or two, for example.
Got it.
You just go there, you have a certain agenda, and then you learn, and then you go. Yeah, that's as far as I know, lah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
But mine was a full-time employment.
Right. So 1 year you tried all stations, and for people listening and watching, what do you mean by all stations?
So you start at if I'm not wrong, the most basic is the cold side, the cold station, gamanje, where you build you prepare the salads, the greens, the green stuff.
Anything cold, appetizers,
cold stuff, appetizers,
salads on the side,
which is very prep heavy because you have a lot of components and all that. But you assemble there's minimal application of heat.
Okay.
So it's a cold site.
Got it.
Yeah. Then you start there, and then I slowly moved to another sort of cold station where because artichoke has all the little small plates.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was there assembling all the small plates like hummus, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was an easy transition. But again, the prep there was very heavy because there had so many components. There wasn't there was a little bit more cooking where you have to apply heat to some ingredients, but it's still not like working at the stove or the grill, for example.
Okay.
So it's only there. Then I spent like 2 or 3 months there, and then I transitioned to the grill, and then to the stove. Pizza. There's one point Artichoke was running pizzas for brunch, so I worked with like a small oven, a Gosney oven. Then I did a bit of dessert as well, I think. Yeah. And the pastry side. Yeah. So, and I think I did another round or something. Right. I did another tour around the kitchen.
Is it normal that people actually go tour?
Depends on how long you last lah.
Right.
Yeah, but usually they start. It depends on your experience and what position you are applying for. Okay. Of course, right? If you're applying for a head chef, sous chef position, you probably have to have a hand in every station at one point, or at least to have a very broad understanding. But your job is a much higher level. You have to look at everything from top down. So you may not exactly be in this working that station on a daily basis, day in and day out. But you need to understand all these different stations because you are, after all, the oversight. Overseeing everything. Yeah.
So when you were there for 1 year, you had no experience in F&B at all, except
no
for
commercial experience.
Hobby, kind of like helping out.
Which is very different. Which is very different.
But that was enough for you to say that I want to try out F&B. Help me navigate that, because what part of you cooking for friends and all that, or where did that interest come from? Or was it since young that you had cookbooks? Or
I had a ton of cookbooks and DVDs, and I watched a lot of television with cook shows.
So when was that? Primary school, secondary school?
Let's say secondary lah.
Yeah, and what sparked that off? Was it grandma's cooking? Was it like...
Yeah, I mean, I used to help out with my grandmother in the kitchen.
Do you think that it started there?
Probably. Yeah, probably. And my grandmother loves food, so she's not shy to use like a lot of bold flavors, a lot of fat. I know that her cooking has a lot of lard inside. But yeah, very rich food lah. So I guess that kind of developed my palate.
And this is secondary school?
No man, that one started like when I was young lah. I was a kid lah.
Primary school, even younger
than that lah.
So you were helping out in the kitchen already?
Bits and pieces lah. She used to ask me to do those Chinese New Year, they fold the dumpling. No, not Chinese New Year, sorry. I'm not sure it's Chinese New Year, but that you have got those the saw they call it saw right? It's little glutinous balls in the soup, the red and white ones.
That's like a birthday kind of
something like that lah. Tang yuan, sorry, yeah. Stuff like that, and then she would ask me to fold dumplings with her, I guess, which kind of spun off in a good direction because now I'm folding pasta, right? So it's the skill set is transferable.
Yeah. It sounds like the Chinese version of pasta.
Yeah. So that's what I did, and then I ended up eating a lot of it. So I had to make more lah, because I have to make more, right?
Yeah.
So so I developed this tactile, think about me where I like to work with my hands lah.
Right.
Yeah.
So since young you're doing that, so your grandmother kind of like gave you the opportunity at the first part?
In a manner of speaking lah. In a manner of speaking, that was fun lah. But it's just very different from working in the kitchen, because kitchen you have hierarchy, you have process, and everything has to be synchronized in a way. You know, you need to be very organized. You need to work fast.
It's like a system. It's like a
It's
engine.
system, yeah.
One thing messes up everything. The engine stalls.
Exactly, it's very different. You have to think on your feet. You have to work on your feet, and literally be on your feet.
Yeah.
And also, working at home, you know, you have the luxury of just taking a break anytime you want, listen to some music and sit down with a glass of wine, take your time. But you don't have that kind of thing in the professional kitchen. And there are always people carrying knives and working with, you know, hot stuff, carrying things. It can be a dangerous environment if you're not careful also, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just very different.
Okay. I'm curious about you having that Y junction. You were doing tax, you were doing well, I'm assuming. And you had to choose whether or not you were just carried on down that tax road where actually life would be a bit cushy. It'll be okay, right? Salary stable. You're not perspiring. You're wearing a shirt and you're in office.
Yeah.
Aircon office all the way. And then going down the other path. Describe that Y junction. What happened there? Because is it just the idea that so now I don't have kids, I'm not married yet, and all that? Let's just try something.
That obviously has a huge part to play in my decision. But I would say I probably got burnt out doing tax day in day out, and I mean, you know, I'm not sure there's the reputation in working in this kind of industry, especially in the Big Four, where they will just push you lah.
Yeah, definitely.
To your limit, you know, and then there's no such thing as a holiday, right?
Yeah.
Even when I was on holiday, I was still kind of working.
Yeah.
Had my laptop strapped to my back. Wherever I go, I was answering emails and all that, and then you work till the late hours, depending on the season.
Yeah.
So I got burnt out, and then I was like, you know, let's just try something different. Yes, it will be tough, but you know, it'll be something refreshing. And then at least, I guess it was just an answer that was a question begging to be answered. Like the big question is, what if I had done this instead? And I don't want to live the rest of my life not knowing. So it was just a good point in time, like in my professional career as well as my private life. Is a good time to take they call it a sabbatical, right? Some sort of a sabbatical, except that I didn't actually return.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was like, give me age. That was after you finished uni at 26, around there? 27?
No. That was like much later.
Yeah, after you finish uni, then you add 6 years working.
So that
35?
was 35, 34, 35.
Right. So at 34, 35,
yeah,
after working 6 years.
6 7 years.
And you studied that.
So I was working in a smaller firm before Big Four.
Okay.
So that was like 2 years, I think.
So 8 years of working.
8 to 9.
Yeah, I think enough.
Right, enough. Okay. I'm doing that my entire life. It's enough. Try something different, you know.
A lot of people wonder about university degrees and all that, right? And they it's like, I know for you, help me understand. You know you're going to be in tax. That's why you did a degree in what?
I actually didn't do a degree. I did a professional certification.
Oh.
Yeah, because you're in this profession, you're not required to have a degree.
Right. So those professional certifications are things like what?
It's basically an overseas it's an international body that regulates this professional line. It's called the ACCA.
ACCA. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever think about just taking over your dad's business?
Yes.
Was that
I think that was kind of in the works in the beginning lah. Like he was supposed to groom me into someone to fill the gap lah later on. Yeah. But things just didn't work out that way, you know. Yeah, but he's fine. He's cool with it.
He's cool with it? Right. Yeah. So because like if usually for generational businesses, usually they would definitely want.
This is different because this is not necessarily generational, because this is not like a business handed down. This is a partnership. So he's one of the partners of the firm.
Okay.
Yeah, so he could get me in, I suppose.
But you still need to prove
but
yourself.
you still need to prove yourself
Got it.
based on credibility and it's not nepotistic line in a way.
Got it.
Yeah,
Alright.
that's what I mean.
But that's how accounting firms work, lah.
Yeah, it's
all
a partnership. It's mostly a
same as
partnership.
law firms and all that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So coming back, when you say that, okay, I'm gonna do 1 year at Artichoke to try out.
6 months. Then became 1 year.
6 months. Then after it became 1 year.
Yeah.
What was the next step for you? Do you already know that
Honestly,
you wanted
did not
pasta?
know. Honestly, I did not know. But I was dabbling in pasta.
Hmm.
Like I was developing this tactile ability to form stuff. To playing out
And Artichoke?
No, not whilst at Artichoke, but not in Artichoke.
Okay.
So Artichoke is Mediterranean, ma.
Yes.
It's Turkish food.
Except for pasta, except for pizza. That's the only thing.
Yeah, but the is pizza and pasta doughs are different.
Okay.
The way they feel is just different.
So when you start developing that?
At home.
Where got time?
Got lah.
Okay, so share with me. So you were working for 1 year.
Yeah, I was working whilst I work. I don't work 7 days a week, man.
Yes,
right?
yes. So you're off days.
Off days or free time.
Yeah.
I just dabble. I just continue because I've always been. I knew I wanted to do Italian food. That was my interest, but I worked at Artichoke because you're not limited by. I mean, the skill sets that you learn and the knowledge that you learn, the know-how of how to run or how a business is run and the kitchen runs, it operates, is not confined to the kind of cuisine.
Totally
Every cuisine.
transferable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I worked at Beyond's Kitchen.
Okay.
So, but my real love was in Italian food, and that was something that I embarked on at home lah. Yeah, during my free time lor. So I was doing pasta, and then I just tried doing different shapes, classical, a little bit more nouveau, taking photos of it, and then I decided to start an Instagram lah. And so that's where my Instagram account came about, and then I just started posting pictures. Because at that point, I don't see anyone really focusing on pasta. It was always about Italian food. There wasn't a very focused angle. And also, I was like, yeah, let's just focus more on the pasta itself. Because from my just limited experience, at folding different shapes, even though you're using the same dough, requires a different kind of hand movement or gesture. And it was only later I found out, there isn't just one dough. There are like so many kinds of dough. Even with a certain amount of dough with the same composition, it can vary based on the hydration, which you have to adjust based on the shapes that you intend to do. So there's just so many things to so many configurations. So that was something very interesting to me. So yeah, I just kept doing different shapes and then experimenting. It was like a hobby at that point in time. It was like just for fun, take pictures, then post on Instagram, just for fun. Yeah, I only had like a couple of followers, like my wife and some friends, family members. But it was just a side thing, a side project while I work my day job at Artichoke. Yeah, so at the time I didn't have a clear idea of what I wanted to do. I knew it was Italian, but I didn't know in what shape or form. Until I left. After I left, and then at the point where I left Beyond, it was like, what's your next step? I seriously don't know. So I think maybe you can start doing, you can start running supper clubs. Because at that time, it was something quite popular coming into the scene. I think at that point there was only one other Italian home dining outfit, right?
Supper club is just another way of saying home dining.
I think so. Yeah,
right.
Probably. Yeah.
So you invite people into your home,
into your own place, into a space. Yeah, private space.
So private dining, so it's like private dining, but your home, but then you do everything.
You can do everything or yourself, or you can hire. You can hire. No. I don't know the rules. I think forbid you to hire people.
Okay.
Or that could be HDB rules. I'm for sure HDB rules. They won't allow you to do it.
Okay.
But yeah lah, you get your, I suppose, your mom or your sisters or your brothers
To help out.
help out lah.
Yeah.
If you want, or you can do everything yourself lah. Like how I do it lah.
Right.
Okay, so he said, I think that's a good transition for you, and it's a perfect space to build your brand because you're not pressured by rent.
Yeah.
You're not pressured by rent.
Yes, especially rent.
You don't have, it's small scale. You don't have to hire people. You can do it at your own pace, right? You can do once a week maybe. You can start with friends, family. Is something that you have full control with. So I thought, okay lah, try it out lah, Then, but I think it started with friends, of course, and then slowly, I think Beyond came just to support, and then Beyond being Beyond with his network and everything, because I think he posted about it, and then suddenly everyone knew about it. So I think that's how it snowballed lah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There was one. I remember trying to book a place on.
Oh yeah, you guys were like
we all came.
the first group was friends lah, right?
Yeah, the committee and all that
exactly.
For we did our reunion.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Then we had a celebration in your place and all that.
Yeah.
So would you say that you knew as Italian and then you started experimenting as a hobby for pasta, and then you started the Instagram.
Yep.
And it's purely on pasta.
Yep.
And you did your supper club. Was it purely pasta?
No.
Okay. What was it?
Italian. But it wasn't focused on pasta.
It wasn't focused.
Remember, right?
I remember.
I'm not sure if you remember. You came.
Yeah.
When you came, there were only 2 pasta dishes.
Yeah.
And then the rest was like chapalang everything.
Yes. So
but Italian lah.
It's
Italian focus, Italian themed, right?
Yeah.
So
you were not clear yet that it was going to be pasta all the way.
I wasn't clear on how this will unfold, but I knew pasta was fun to do. I'm not sure if pasta will be something that I could make a career out of, but I knew pasta was something I wanted to touch and do and fold and create and roll and push and pull and tug and whatever. Yeah, so Beyond came along again that day, and then after that dinner, I thought so. He came and then he blasted about it, and then he said, looking back, maybe you should just do pasta. I know your Instagram has so many pasta pictures. It's like everything. There's pasta there's the word pasta maker, pasta this, pasta that.
Yeah.
But then in your private dining, you're not serving all pasta.
Yeah.
So it doesn't coincide that
There's
well.
no congruency in your brand.
There isn't congruency. Then he said, maybe just give it a chance and just do all pasta. How about let's try that out? Then that would definitely set you apart, right? Because there's no other outfit that just does pasta.
Yeah.
I did think about that at the beginning, but I was a bit skeptical on how a full pasta menu would work.
Yeah. Unheard of.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that will work, you see. So I was very skeptical. That's why in the beginning, I didn't want to do all pasta. I wanted to be safe. I was playing it safe lah.
Yeah.
But after what Beyond said, then I said, okay, let's give it a shot lah. After all, I did that leap of faith a year ago. Let's try another leap of faith lah, which worked out in the end lor. So that kind of differentiated the brand as well. Yeah, and I'm still doing that today. Still full pasta.
I love what you said about fun, because when I talk to people at the top of their game, and there's something about passion. Something about passion has something about energy coming out. That means you don't even feel it's work, you feel it's play. You want to be immersed into it. So for you, describe to me what pasta does for you. Like, what's so fun about it? Because to another person, it's like, pasta? That's kind of bread level. Like, just, it is not the main thing. The main thing is the sauce or something else. But what does pasta do for you, like, that you can consider it fun?
Yeah, because pasta is if you look at this encyclopedia of pasta, right, they've got, if you bother to count, there are like 600 or 700 types. And then whereas bread is just maybe a few types, right? I also don't know. I'm not cook, so I don't know. But to me, is I would be bored doing bread every day. Although there are different kinds of bread, yes, but compared to pasta, there's just so much more possibilities to do something different every season. Which is why I guess because I somehow gets bored quite quickly. So with pasta, I don't get bored because there's something else. There's always something different, something to learn. I think there are two ends of the spectrum. That happiness and joy that I derive is at the beginning of learning of a new pasta shape, and at the end where I succeed in making that pasta shape. Because at the point where I'm still learning, it's fun but very frustrating.
Yes. Yeah. To perfect it.
Very frustrating. Yeah. I think there was one shape that I was so beat up about it. I was like so emotional. It ate me up. So like, I couldn't. I was like, I cannot accept that I'm failing at this. So I was very emotional about it.
What shape was that?
It's the hardest pasta to do in the world.
Describe it 3D to us, roughly.
It's a pasta that is fashioned after cloth. So it looks like cloth. Okay. Which means that cloth threads, right?
Yes.
It's threaded.
Like parchment.
Yeah, it's like a lattice lah. So this pasta is very fine threads of not cotton but pasta. So it requires a very unique technique that was taught to me by a lady called Claudia, who's in Sardinia, who's from Sardinia.
Yeah.
And she's one of the masters that can produce this pasta in the world.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a close to be extinct pasta format that only a handful of people are able to master. So that was it lah. So that was it. And then because I was thinking, this is the pasta that will cement that will cement my name
on the world map.
Yeah, this will yeah. So I cannot.
Are you serious about that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so difficult.
Yeah.
Wow.
So difficult.
Okay. So once you did that, and you're sharing that growth process is exciting to you. Every time there's a new shape, you can't do it, then suddenly you are able to do it, succeed.
Yeah.
Then you can move on to another shape because you said
no, but this one is different. This one is I'm trying to use this as a reference for how emotional I was and everything. Like this is like at the peak lah, the peak of what I can do, or I can feel about a pasta,
Right.
But generally speaking, a lot of shapes out there, when you first touch it and then you learn about it, that first initial process is very fun, it's very exciting, Then you learn, and then you get it, and then every time when you manage to nail it, there's this exhilarating feeling, like wow, it's so beautiful, and then you have that feeling. So it's a different kind of feeling. So that exists for a lot of pasta shapes, but for this particular one, it's just one whole other story lah. Yeah. But that was at the peak of my, at the point of time, it was the peak of how I could actually derive in terms of joy, emotion, and all sorts of, feelings that I could get.
Because this is very unheard of to anyone who's trying to do something, but it's quite common, I do feel, for people who strive for excellence in something. Quite common. Share with me just the emotions that you went through when it comes to this, because a lot of people feel that passion is just fun. It's fun and it's not very challenging. It's do what you feel most. Some people feel that if you follow your strengths, you follow your passion, you're happy most of the time. But it's actually not the case. You're challenged. And there can be downs, even though you're doing something you enjoy. And that challenge is that is the beautiful thing, is that you are able to overcome that challenge while doing what you enjoy. But it doesn't mean that's an easy thing. Doing what you are passionate about is not easy. It's difficult and it's challenging, and there's joy in that. Share with me the emotions you felt that when you couldn't do that, we couldn't succeed, and share with me after.
Well, I'm not sure what how.
That was it like just frustration? Was it like you're weeping on the floor? Is that
Well, not to the extent lah. Not to the extent, but I mean, everything is a challenge lah. Just even though when you're not doing pasta, you have other challenges like how to create the sauce, how to make sure that you can execute it properly, how you can even get the available produce that is meant for the dish. So all these challenges are something that you have to face.
Right.
So it's not just the pasta making process. Yeah. So I guess there isn't a way to derive joy entirely. There are challenges that you have to face, and it's just something that you have to accept. Like, it's part and parcel of the game. Yeah.
Okay. So
is that answering it, right?
Definitely. Yeah. It's just people do find that when somebody says follow your passion, people think that's the easy way out, but actually it's a whole load of valleys of overcoming.
I suppose if you follow your passion means that you are going to make passion your career, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And every career has a problem, have their own share of problems.
Yeah.
Not everything is gonna be rosy, right?
Yeah.
So if you're making something your job will inherently have problems. Like for example, staffing. That's a huge issue. Produce, whether it's coming in with whether in terms of the quality, consistency of the quality, these are all challenges. Daily challenges that you see. So you cannot just kind of see. You gotta see the whole package, lah. Right? It comes with all these inherent challenges. Yes. For example, pasta making it's not just making the pasta itself. Back then, yes, when it wasn't a career, when it was a hobby, yes, because you have control of everything. All right, you're just in my little studio. I've got a camera that works, a nice iPhone camera that works. You're in a controlled environment. You're not pressured by time and space. You can take your time. You can do. You can work creatively. For example, if you're doing a shape and you want to talk more about the shape, you can take your time and do a research. Run some research on the internet, read some books, understand more about the shape, and then you can share the creative aspect and the historical aspects of the shape, the background, and talk about it on Instagram, for example, which is what I used to do. You have full control. But then when it becomes a job where you have to bring that shape into a restaurant and then you have to communicate that to a different kind of audience, you may not get the same kind of audience. People that follow you on Instagram, they understand your MO, they know that this is what they're in tune with what you're doing, right, in the first place. But if you bring that into a restaurant, there are all these Tom, Dick, Harrys that come in, they may not exactly understand where you're coming from, and then they will just kind of judge you with a very broad lens, and all these little inherent problems that you need to face. So it's different when you transition from a hobby to just a commercial. Yeah.
I'm curious about when Bjorn was actually sharing with you that you should just focus on pasta. What changed in terms of after doing that and you started to focus on pasta?
What changed?
What happened? Was it that your private dining blew up, and then you started to go overseas to, I don't know, learn things, or do you straight away, okay, I'm going to set up my restaurant now?
No, it wasn't. I didn't. I was thinking I would be doing this for some time, so there wasn't any plans to open a proper restaurant, because to actually do what I do is very difficult to operationalize in a commercial environment.
Okay.
Yeah, which is why this little very small scale home dining thing works for the kind of pastas that I do. So all the pastas that I do on my platform, not all can be scaled to restaurant. So what changed was, which was in a good way lah, I suppose. People came with this. It was a novelty, right? Because no one else was kind of doing just pasta.
Yeah.
Because also the shapes that I offer are quite technical, so which needs a very practiced hand. So it's hard to do a full pasta degustation with just one or two shapes, right? And then use different sauces. That is hard to differentiate, which is actually what I used to do at first. Just using a very generic pasta and then saucing it differently. But that doesn't set you apart.
Yeah.
So what now I'm doing now is I'm doing the kind of like the opposite, where I'm doing different shapes, but the sauces are more or less the same in a way lah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the pasta is
so now
jockey.
the style of the dish becomes the pasta, and I'm able to communicate that with the diner. You see.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm able to kind of string a very nice kind of narrative, or wrap a very nice story behind each shape, because that's how the pasta dish is special. Okay, so that is the way that has kind of set me apart from, any kind of concept out there that has generic Italian meal with just one or two pastas, for example. Yeah. So I guess after that transition, when I made the change, I think that kind of propelled me a little bit further lah, in terms of the differentiation aspect lah. Yeah, and of course it also pushed me to delve even further into the craft.
Right, because last time you're doing all Italian.
Yes.
And you're doing pasta.
Yeah, so now if I'm doing pasta, so every season you have to do a different pasta, right?
Yes.
Of course, there'll be some people who come back, hey, I want to have that one that I had the last time. Of course, there are people, but there are also more people who are in the category where what's new? Like, I want to try, different kinds of pasta, because like you said last time, there were like, 600-700 shapes, right? Yeah, show me the 600-700 shapes.
So
yeah. So in that sense, I had
upgrade
to upgrade. Yeah, I had to like expand my repertoire lah. Which brings me back to the whole topic about it being fun, you see, and not stagnating, because every shape has a different history and way of working with your hands. Some shapes are just similar but different, because it requires a sleight of hand that cannot be detected even by sight, by just plainly looking at it. It needs to be experienced by the hand. So it's very exciting for me. Yeah, so that's how I derive joy lah. It brings me back to the whole that previous point, where I derive joy when it comes to a new shape. So I'm never bored. So it's always fun. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I define passion as 3 different things. Right. One is interest, things that you can talk about forever or a very long time. Second one is strengths, where you're able to do things naturally that other people cannot do. And the last one is values. Right. You talked about interest a lot already, about that you were interested in all that. And your interest, I understand your interest brought you to study under different people. How did it work out? Or where did you go? Or who do you even call? Like, there's no like, I searched the internet and then like, okay,
so
pasta. I want to understudy under a pasta master. Don't have. So how?
I don't have.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you even like?
They only have like they'll send you to those
schools lah, those commercial schools lah, right?
Commercial schools which are training people not to be pasta makers but to be chefs. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So pasta is just probably one of the modules. One of the 101 modules or whatever. It's just a touch and go.
Yeah. Then how do you even find those?
To search, lor. How? Have to talk to people, talk to chefs, get to know people. So when I went to Toronto to work, to stage, to experience, which was the time when I was in Artichoke, when the whole crew, so no, Beyond does the every year once a year trip to Turkey and all that, or to different countries to bring his team for a holiday.
Yeah. Also, you brought
at their subsidies. Yeah.
Okay.
So he brought his team to that year. He brought his team to, I think, Turkey or something. I can't remember. And I was like, Bjorn, I rather not. I mean, I would love to go with you guys, but I rather use this time to go to Canada, because I want to go and learn from certain people that I've gotten to know through Instagram. And they were like very notable people in their craft of pasta.
Right.
And I think
this Instagram means what? They contacted you or you contacted them?
No, like, you know, Instagram, you follow, then they follow back, that kind of thing. Then you, sometimes they will leave comments, and then you connect with them lah. And then you deepen that relationship lah.
Yes.
Eventually, if they like your work, you like their work, and or you know, you happen to be working on the same thing together, and then you're like, hey, how do you get this to this? And you ask questions, you know. So that happened with me. Then I said, look, Beyond, because he's once a year trip is always to further the knowledge and to
something about learning.
Yeah, it's learning, it's a research trip lah. Yeah, so that's what I want to do, but I want to do it for pasta. So instead of going with them, I went Canada lah. And he was cool about it, so I went Canada, and that's where I learned to connect with more people there. And then slowly, you talk to these people, you build relationships with them, they like what you do, and then slowly you kind of navigate, you find even more people through these people. And then you talk, and then they put you through them, and then they connect you with them. So that's how you find out about these people. So
pure network.
Pure networking.
Pure relationships.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I was lucky that I found a couple that I really respect. Two pasta makers that are masters in their own craft, because pasta making is very different. It's as varied as the Italian cuisine, and there's no such thing as Italian cuisine. It's regional cuisine. Italian is just doesn't say it enough. Okay, so pasta is also very regionally based, right? So they're masters in their own regions. So I brushed shoulders with a pasta maker, a maestra in northern part of Italy. Okay, and then that's how I got to learn how to, roll pasta very traditionally, the northern style pasta, which is egg based.
Soft.
It's a lady called Rina Poletti.
Rina Poletti,
Yeah, she's very well known pasta, or rather a very well known sfolina. They call them sfolina. Is a term that they use to call artisan pasta makers in a certain part of Italy. Yeah, so she's been doing this for close to 40-50 years, right? Her whole life, right? So she's very well respected in, albeit a small circle, because she's not commercial, she's not mass, she does not appeal to the mass audience. So she's
Yoda level.
Yeah, nobody knows her, but those people that matter know her.
Right.
Yeah. So this is one of the ladies that I respect a lot. She's a grandmother. Actually, I respect grandmothers. My biggest idols are not chefs. My biggest idols are pasta aunties and grannies.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
That's because they've spent, I think it brings us back to the topic about the regionality of Italian cuisine. And the regionality, and by that extension, the regional differences of Italian pasta. So pasta is very hyper-local, where it could just be something a grandmother or auntie would experience, just that one or two pasta shapes which they have experienced their entire lives. They may not even know what spaghetti is, but they know what cascatelli is. You know what Ming is, for example. Okay, these are very, very niche products, but something that's very common to them. That's how regional it is. So they're very, very specialized. And this is something that they've experienced, like how I experienced with my grandma, the Tang Yuan, for example. Okay, since young, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, their mothers will be telling them, you have to learn how to make this pasta, because if you don't, they're not going to accept you as a wife, because this is actually pasta making. The ability to make pasta for some cultures over there is a criteria when you're choosing wives. They look at your hands and they'll see, okay, make a certain shape for me, for example. If you can do it, okay, that increases your chances of getting married out to my, or I'll accept you as a daughter-in-law. For real,
That's so cool.
For real, okay. So this is a pasta. 1 or 2 or 3 shapes is something that they experience their entire lives, and by the time they are 50, like auntie level or amma level, 50,
Grandmaster,
60, 70, they've been doing that same 2 or 3 shapes for how long?
Right.
7, 80 years of their lives,
Wow.
So they're masters of their craft. So if people call me master, I'm like, please don't call me master. I'm just a student. I'm always gonna be a student. Because these grandmothers have been doing that 1, 2 shapes for so many years of their lives. How are you gonna bring all that years of experience into a restaurant menu which changes every 3 months? How are you going to master that shape for over 2 or 3 weeks during that transition of a new menu? It's difficult, which is why handmade pasta or true handmade pasta is something that doesn't exist, or it's hard to exist, or it's not. It can exist, but it may not be done properly.
Not to the level of grandma.
Not to that level, right? But they make it look so easy because they've been doing it for so many years.
Right.
So they are the people when it comes to pasta that I idolize the most. Okay. So these ladies, so Rina Poletti, okay, is one of them.
Yeah. And
Okay.
Claudia is the other one.
And Claudia is the one who taught me that intricate, that super difficult cloth pasta that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And along with others lah.
Right.
Okay, she's an auntie lah. She's not that old yet, but she's very talented, and she's considered a grandmaster.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are 2 ladies that I actually had the chance to work with, or learn under lah. Yeah.
All these kind of learning. Who pays for it?
Self-funded lah.
Yeah. So why?
Self-funded.
If I put myself in your position, I could think about don't need to learn that much anymore. I've already experimented what I want here. I don't need to actually go on and carry on learning. Where is that drive for you to just keep learning different shapes?
Boredom.
Oh, really?
Boredom and trying to achieve the highest level.
Yeah.
There are some shapes that, I've been doing it for very long, but I will still revisit, and I will still want to continue doing it and getting the best out of it. There's always something to improve.
Yeah.
Whether it's speed or the shape, especially speed. Because pasta making, unlike pizza making, is different. Right? Pizza making is about the process, okay, the environment. I don't know, the yeast that they use, or the pullage that they use, or the starter that they use. It's all science. It's but the tactile thing about it is not rather tactile, but rather you make one pizza, it feeds 12 people, for example, or 10 people. But the thing about pasta is it's made one at a time. So the speed element is very important, if you understand what I mean. You need to make pastas quick. I'm talking within the context of a restaurant.
Yeah. So if you feed 12 people,
you make one pizza, you feed 12 people, you won't have to work as fast.
Yeah. But if you make pasta,
you need to churn out. You need to churn out for the same amount of 10, 12 packs. You need your speed needs to be. You need to be very super efficient,
super fast. Yeah.
Super fast. Yeah. All right. So that's something that if you're working in a restaurant environment, you need to tackle. You need to work on. So speed for me is something that I need to work on, definitely, for a lot of pasta shapes. Right. So that is inherent in the craft lah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that keeps me going.
Right.
There's
So always learning,
always
revisiting
learning,
shapes.
revisiting, trying to improve speed, especially,
Increasing speed.
and maintaining the shape. Because when you increase speed or increase scale, technique may change. So making pastas when I started private dining for 10 people, is the technique that I use for making this pasta. If I were to scale that into a restaurant making for 50, 60 people, the technique changes.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So that's why everything is always evolving, especially when you are a student of the craft. So I'm not a master.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I'm still learning, always learning.
Yeah, but it's the beautiful thing about people who always want to reach highest levels of excellence. They always consider themselves students because you're never there. You're never done. And I think once you've reached that level and you do call yourself a master, then that's a dangerous place to be.
That just means that you have stopped learning.
You have stopped learning. Yeah, you stop being humble. You stop learning from
learning
other people. Right.
Yeah.
You said that you were very good with your hands and all that. And was there a talent that other people noticed or something you noticed yourself? Because when it comes to strengths, sometimes when you do something, you think it is normal to everybody else. So where do you get that validation from? Was it another chef? Hey, actually, that pasta was really good.
So I didn't really. I use a lot of visual references. Yeah, through Instagram, through the work of others.
Right.
And of course, I will benchmark, right? Through benchmarks. You defer to those people who are at a stage of their career that is at the highest point, right? Very notable pasta makers. You compare that to your work lah. And if you are able to replicate the shape with an acceptable texture and how fast you can produce it, then you're good to go. That's how I always kind of use that's always the reference point that I use.
Right. So you use your own reference point through other people's
reference. Yeah. It's
or other masters.
Basically mimicking.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm like mimicking in a way.
Yeah. But that's the fastest way to grow. Fastest way to grow is to monkey see, monkey do.
Yes.
Once you can do that, then you go into creativity.
Yeah. So I would say now I'm not creative.
Okay.
I'm not a creative person.
Right.
What I do is just copy. But the thing is, it's hard to copy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to copy. Because the pasta shapes are there. It's been around for some of them for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
You just have to make the shape, make it look like that. But that's the difficult part.
Yeah.
Making transforming a lump of dough into all these intricate shapes.
Yeah.
You know? So actually mimicking is the job. That is the job.
Yeah.
It's mimicking. Yeah. And of course the texture and everything and how it holds up in the sauce, how it cooks.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. Yeah. Would you ever, jumping the gun, because when you've done and mimicking after a while, besides that creative process of different sauces and all that, would you come up with your own shape?
I have already done it.
I have
one.
Okay.
Just for fun. It was just for fun.
Was there something that you look forward to, want to do more of?
Probably can be improved lah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can be improved.
Right.
Yeah. It's a bit superfluous lah. A lot of things happening, but apparently some people like it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But
so is it like Singapore, we have orchids that we name our orchid after a delegate can come. Can you come up with your own shape and say that I named it like a planet, like a?
I'm a bit of a traditionalist, at least at this point lah. So when I talk about pastas, I'm very respectful to the heritage,
right,
and the history and the traditions of how this shape came about. So I don't see myself going that far lah.
Right. So it's still coming back to where it originated from, inspired by these few different...
Very classical.
Got it. Okay.
I'm very classical.
Okay.
At least for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing about passion, I realize also is that something about living out your values plays a big part for somebody who's just working on their passion and just pushing out things that they feel passionate about. What do you feel is your value that you you prioritize to a point where, yeah, actually, while I'm doing this, I am living out my value. So it's something important that I feel that I'm able to do by doing this.
Values. I think I started private dining with the value that I can spend time with my wife, family lah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually what I value most.
Right.
Because private dining at the time gave me, this very flexible schedule, which allows me to spend time with family lah. So it carried on for a while, until now. Now that I have a kid, now that I'm working in a restaurant.
Yeah.
It's something I'm still working on to I'm always working on to strike a balance.
Yeah.
But it's challenging.
Right.
But I guess, like I said just now, nothing is perfect. Passion is one thing, but it all comes down to all these elements that it comes along the whole package. And you have to just kind of find a way to work it out. Yeah, but
I've heard that before. When it comes to one of my values is definitely family. I prioritize family. Time.
Yeah, because when you have how many kids?
6.
I mean, when you have when you have your first kid, okay,
Yeah.
when you have your first kid, you're like thinking, wow, this dude is, or this young lady is, growing so fast. It's time you need to be there to catch.
Yeah. Agree.
Little things that new things that they learn and say and pick up. Otherwise it's gone. So this time is very important.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is almost like macro when it comes to your life, where you value time and you value those moments that you can kind of archive in your mind that you have lived with your kids and all that, and your wife. When it comes to work, is there similarities that you see? Because the funny thing about pasta is that it's almost like a history book.
Yeah.
It's like there's a shape, it came from that region, came from that clan or that certain people, and then it's like it is instead of a storybook, it is encapsulated into shape.
Yeah.
Would there be a correlation for you that there's that whole idea of timelessness, archiving of memory, or something like that? Have you ever seen that correlation?
I think that is like in terms of time, the element of time, I think when it comes to the pasta shapes that I do, I think it's something you can draw a lot of reference from to the element of time.
Yeah.
Like you're basically bringing people, for some of the shapes, like you're bringing people back in time.
Exactly.
Or you are also producing a timeless piece of work, of a food product, for example.
Yeah. Or
something that
it's like you're reviving the dinosaurs for a while.
Yes, or
like
you're
Jurassic Park.
Yes, or you are just kind of ensuring that it does not die out.
Yeah.
For example, for that cloth pasta that I mentioned. Yeah, it's something that could die out, but I'm just prolonging it a little bit, because since I've learned it, I have become one of the few people that can do it in this part of the region.
Yeah, and
I've prolonged its existence. I've deferred its extinction.
Yeah.
So in that is a interplay of time and pasta lah.
But so what about that? Is that value that is it that you value that something about history will always be present? Something about losing memory of something, like your value of pushing it to the present and always being there. Is there something that you feel that you
it's just it's just reconnecting with people, with what used to be. Because now in this time and age, a lot of food products are all mass produced by machines.
Yes.
So with revisiting these shapes that originated as handmade pasta, which was in a time where machines didn't exist. Because these days our machines are very, very advanced. Okay, I think in time to come, there could be even a 3D printer that could do that cloth pasta. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, like you said, it's just a way of encapsulating all these kind of pastas and freezing them in the moment of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that definitely derives a kind of purpose in what I do. Yeah, it gives purpose to what I do. Yeah, because I'm bringing people back and reconnecting them.
So like a pasta time machine.
Something like yeah, this one, yes, you can find it made by machines today. Yes, you can find it everywhere, but
No, but time machine. You're a pasta time machine. That means you're bringing people on journeys where,
metaphorically speaking, that
you bring them to that region that they will never be before, or you bring them to a time where they never would have experienced.
you're bringing them to a place that they may not have the chance to go to.
Yeah.
So there are some pastas that very rare. Okay, they may not even know about it to even go there.
Yeah.
But I mean, sure. Now you tell them, they may, if they love it that much, they can definitely make the effort to go all the way, and I don't by aeroplane, and then take a connecting flight, and then arrange for a tour agency to bring them there, and then all through that trouble just to go to this one little tiny town. Yeah, sure, they can do that, or they don't have to I've just done it for them Just save them the trouble, and then I brought that pasta to the plate Yeah, so to experience how it would have been there. So in a way, that kind of saves them time.
Yeah. So I'm very curious because then you value a certain level of timelessness, archiving, something about being a historian, custodian, something. Do you see yourself as that something that you value?
That's a
stretch.
bold statement. No, I wouldn't say I'm a custodian I play with time, but I wouldn't say I'm the only person who can do all these shapes.
Yeah.
But in this time and period, in time and space, I'm probably one of the few, or the only one in Singapore that bothers or is diligent enough to visit all these shapes and to recreate them. Yeah.
All right. Last question I have. I love hacking, live hacking, anything, right? So if there's something that you can share about hacking anything, like, so for example, if I go and order pasta or something in F&B that you'd be like, hey, actually, Jason, if people do this, wow, this would be great.
So a lot of pasta doughs, right? When people do them, the shapes that they do, there's always a easier way around it. If you're doing elongated shapes, for example, if you're doing gnocchi at home, people never see there's actually a way to cut the process by half. Yeah. People always kind of, from a lump of dough, they can actually dissect it lengthwise and then kind of rolling it out by hand, which is so much quicker than cutting it into lumps and then rolling out by hand, because by cutting it in an elongated manner, you already have an elongated pasta to roll out, and that's a lot faster. So that is one hack which I learned when I was working in a restaurant. Yeah, and it's so much simpler.
Right. So instead of just trying to elongate the long thing, cut it up to small.
Instead of trying to elongate, let's say, a round ball of dough, for example, it's much easier to elongate a strip of dough. Or a rope of dough, which you cut. Right? The manner in which you cut determines that. Right. So if you cut along the length of the dough, you straight away you get a strip of dough, which is so much easier to roll. This is one hack that I learned.
Cool.
Yeah, one operational hack.
Thank you. So if there's anything else, I really appreciate your time today. If there's anything else that you want to share with the audience, that something about following their passion, and what would you actually say to somebody that maybe was in the crossroads, same as you, that either had to go down that path or like try?
Don't let people don't let people dissuade you from doing what you want to do. Don't let people run your life. Right. So just believe in what you want to do. Keep your head down. As long as you believe in it, just gotta keep going. Obviously, there are some people who are not going to be kosher with what you are delivering. But that could also be because, I mean, they have other interests. They come from different backgrounds, and it's a huge world lah. Everyone, there's a market. There's something for everyone. So you are not out there to please every single person. You just have to really work to focus, narrow down on your audience, and just kind of do your best. And there will be people out there who will appreciate what you do, right? So it's not a catch-all exercise. Just gotta be selective, and then just dig deep and yeah, value your work, value yourself, value your time, and the people who are spending time to come and to enjoy your art pieces or your work, your experience that you're delivering.
Right. Thank you so much, Yum Hwa, for today. I really enjoyed it.
Pleasure.